In 2023, I began to obtain evidence that there was a Facebook conspiracy to stalk, defame, and cyberbully my person. This consisted of approximately 300 different Facebook accounts. This conspiracy has been going on for years and has roots at least as far back as 2016, right after I published my first 2 books. In particular, Facebook accounts that are anonymous or fake have alleged that I murdered my ex-wife, that I've committed extortion and identity theft, that I have stalked women, that I have STDs, that my PhD from Yale is fraudulent, that I have been labeled a vexatious litigant, that I have falsely claimed that I am an attorney. To mention just a few of their countless statements. None of these statements are true. Hundreds of Facebook accounts which are unverified and many of which are anonymous conspired in secret, that is, without giving me notice, and while they knew I would never have access to this Facebook group. I invite you to think about that carefully. What we are facing is a secret criminal infrastructure designed specifically to facilitate online assassinations. This malicious conspiracy intended to destroy my life and work such that I would never recover. Whoever is behind this Facebook conspiracy may well have intended to cause suicide and to commit identity theft themselves by taking credit for my work. I contacted Facebook and shared with them the evidence that I obtained. Evidence, meanwhile, that has proven that my lawsuit is legitimate and moving forward. But Facebook did nothing to help me. This raises questions concerning Section 230 of the euphemistically titled Communications Decency Act, CDA. It is easy to remember because the way that this Clinton-created law, probably a result of blackmail, has functioned in our society has been anything but decent. Section 230 of the CDA empowers platforms such as Facebook to regulate themselves. So why has Facebook failed to help me while my California state lawsuit is already helping me? In what way is Facebook self-regulating when its victims are forced to turn to traditional laws? I have worked hard for my good name and reputation. Like anyone else, I need them to earn a living and enjoy my life, in particular to redeem the sacrifices I have made. Thus, to answer your question, I had no choice. The cesspool of secret Facebook accounts had the clear intention of destroying my life. My response to report them to the LAPD and FBI and then file a lawsuit is thus Promethean in nature. Like the gift of fire, my case is a necessity of survival. Without it, my primal identity would become more isolated, unsocialized, and vulnerable for this dark force to finally eliminate and steal. To return in part to your second question, this is a vital question and concerns the nature of my defendants in this case. As you can imagine, the women being sued are not happy. As expected, they are fighting as best they can. Some of them are lawyers and some of them have legal representation. This is why it is interesting that not a single defendant has provided any evidence in support of their outrageous and severely harmful statements mentioned before. One defendant is named Ellie Shariat. Shariat claims that I matched with her and then tracked her down to a hotel where she was dining. I allegedly then grabbed her wrist to accost her. Shariat's story is pure fiction. None of it ever happened. Shariat is someone with whom I have no recollection of matching or talking. I have never known of her existence. But after I obtained evidence of Shariat's fictional story, I did some digging and found a few pictures of her. Even if one were to look for Shariat, no one would be able to recognize her in real life. And there is certainly no reason why anyone would think that I would take an interest in this person. To return to the question that I implicitly raised, if any of these defendants had any evidence of wrongdoing to support any of their countless statements about me, why have they failed to provide any such evidence?
That's like pouring perfume on a pig.
Shariat continues to run from service of my lawsuit.
Wearing sunglasses.
But I am diligently seeking remedies to have Shariat properly served.
Our ideal of vision.
Excuse me.
Shariat conspired with the lead defendant of my case, Kelly Gibbons. Gibbons is someone with whom I merely matched and started texting. For weeks, she readily reciprocated conversations with me, but was evasive when it came to confirming who she really was. I correctly realized that Gibbons, like Shariat, is a catfish. I immediately told Gibbons that I was not interested in her anymore, and after multiple texts and attempts to keep me talking with her, I blocked her. I never thought of her again. Sometime later, I was told by various sources that I was one of thousands about whom Facebook accounts were posting. Facebook, a platform which, until I was extorted by this threat to my life, I never used. In particular, it came to my attention that Gibbons was initiating multiple posts about me in various Facebook groups. And for over a year, she was bumping her own posts to keep the topic about me artificially live. Gibbons made many posts about other men as well. Worst of all, Gibbons was ostracized by other women by talking about a man who Gibbons knew was deceased, and therefore could never represent a threat to anyone, including any woman. This raises the question, if this Facebook group is not about protecting women, what is it about? For over a year, Gibbons made approximately 100 posts about me, many of which she made while she was drunk. Turning out to be unhealthy and with at least one psychological disorder, Gibbons may not be the best catch in Los Angeles. But Facebook empowers criminals like Gibbons with secret weapons. Because she was able to bump up her own posts to the top of these Facebook forums, Gibbons was able to attract hundreds of women over the course of a year to support her obsession with harming my life. I would like to point out that I have never met, much less spoken with, 99% of these women. The only one I did meet in person, Olivia Berger, I met for less than 15 minutes because I made an excuse to leave, after I saw that Berger misrepresented herself. Like Gibbons and Shariat, Berger is a catfish, and I had no interest in going on a date with her. But instead of going her separate way, Berger immediately began talking about me on podcasts and posting about me on Facebook. But Berger had only an unremarkable interaction with me. I simply made an excuse to cut off the meeting because I did not want to go on a date with her, because she misrepresented herself. However, Berger would go on national and international news media outlets to talk about me.
Olivia weighed in.
I want to emphasize I had never had a date like this, ever.
And when confronted by the media to explain exactly what I had done to her personally, all Berger could come up with is that I was smug.
Just, yeah, he seemed very arrogant, smug, like sitting on a high horse. The typical kind of bad date behavior.
While crying on camera, Berger exaggerated her statements and claimed that she had never been on a date like this in her life. But I did nothing wrong to Berger. This becomes even more interesting when one looks at another post by Berger on Facebook. Here Berger states that she met a married man off the street, invited him back to her room, but right before having sex, this male stranger left to get a condom and never came back. This sounds a lot more wild and trashy than Berger's very boring interaction with me. Gibbons and her secret Facebook groups escalated and published, said heinously savage statements about me to millions worldwide. As expected, this online harm led to offline harm. Gibbons and her co-conspirators here in Los Angeles elaborately conspired to follow me, to discover my location, to film me, harass me, plant seeds of speculation about me, post my private information, and they even planned to pay third parties to entrap me. Facebook still did nothing to help me. This is proof that Section 230 of the CDA is a fake law designed by the mafia to harm us people with politicians who they have blackmailed. These defendants went on national and international media to talk about me and promote Shariat's fictional story. Although I have never stalked anyone, and this is why there is no evidence, they put Shariat's fictional story on their GoFundMe webpage. They used it to generate thousands of dollars. And they spread this story across the world on TV through multiple interviews. And because I have never met 99% of these women, the first time I saw their faces was when they were talking about me on national and international news channels. This is predatory behavior. Gibbons, Berger, Shariat, all women who are not my type, who would not leave me alone, and who are all nauseating. Because Facebook fails to stop this behavior, one has to wonder if Facebook is intentionally causing these uncurated storms of evil. Thus, I chose to unmask these predators and stop them. And now back to the question that MHD raised. As mentioned before, this question is vital because defendants have failed to provide any evidence in support of their statements. In particular, Shariat's story has turned out to be pure fiction, so why am I being attacked for things I never did? Unfortunately, I have made the terrible decision of dedicating my life to finding solutions to the anxiety and alienation caused by our image-based civilization. Although this is a conversation for another time, I can say that this tragedy has to do with the style of writing, money, and tyranny upon which our worldwide society is built. This search for light and magic makes me a target. Of course, there are particular issues. For instance, for over a decade, I have supported Palestine. I am also a critic of the national security state, its evil blackmail operations from Boys Town to Jeffrey Epstein, and Silicon Valley's attempt to reduce humans to hackable animals who they can control and harm. Silicon Valley includes Facebook. For these reasons, I am targeted and attacked by anonymous Facebook accounts, a significant fraction of which I am dragging into the light. As I have always said, this is not about dating. Are we dating the same guy is a psychological operation to harm good people. It is hardly surprising that Google refuses to index my personal website. Google, who also owns them too, YouTube. Like Facebook, Google is aggressively seeking to continue its online genocide of good people, just as Israel continues its genocide of Palestinians. But now that their slow-motion genocides are picking up speed, people are starting to take note.